Three, two, one. No?
Yeah. Am I in the house, Leedz?
You are in the house.
Am I in the building? Yeah, there we go.
I couldn't find any good Hawaiian shirts to wear to match your steez today. I used to wear them earlier in my life, but then I got rid of them. But
Dude,
seeing you might inspire me to bring them back. I don't know.
I have a very, very rich closet of shirts, and they're not. No, most of them are not even Hawaiian. This one's got like magic mushrooms, starfish, lobsters, different things, you know. But yeah, I got.
Well, I mean, let's look at this pic right here. Let's look at the pics you sent me. That looks like Hawaiian. Is
that one has
starfish on here?
That's got an aquatic theme. That's like a fisherman's theme. There's fishermen wear that same shirt when they're working out in Gloucester, dude.
There's a lobster. There's a shellfish on here. There's an octopus.
Very aquatic.
There's an array of seafood on this shirt right now.
See, you know, I'm a fan of seafood, so.
JDS is bringing back the Hawaiians.
But that's all I wear these days. Unless it's cold out. It doesn't work in the wintertime in Boston. It sucks. So
No, they can't. Yeah. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Leedz Edutainment podcast with special guest today, brought to you by Chubby Chick-fil-A Restaurant. Brought to you with special guest today, Jake Fraczek, aka Jake the Snake, aka JVS. Is there any other AKAs? I feel like there's a few others.
Snack the Jack, the White Justin Timberlake, I don't know, Young Indiana Jones. There's a whole bunch.
The White Justin Timberlake, huh? I didn't hear that one.
Don't worry about it. That's someone else gave that one to me.
Cool. How you doing today, man?
Good, Leeds. Thank you for having me. I'm fantastic.
Well, I'm returning the favor. You had me on your podcast, your Damaged Goods podcast, which seemed to be doing very well. You're doing a great job with that.
Thank you, man. You as well. I love seeing what you know, the transition from just, you know, putting on shows and being a huge promoter and a manager and doing albums and shit to kind of, the broadcasting thing is cool. So I like it.
Yeah, I mean, during the pandemic, it was like made sense, you know, and being a, you know, people don't realize, they think Leedz Edutainment is just a company. They don't realize it's really like a one-man show. I mean, I've had
giant corporation, they think.
I've had people work for me in the past, shout out Jake Milo, but at the most, it was a two-man operation.
Yeah. Very self-sufficient, very all in-house, you know.
Yeah, so, you know, Peter Parker was always like, you gotta put your face out there. So I said, all right, I'll do it.
That sounds like a Parker thing to say. What up, Pete?
He's like, listen, you gotta put your face out there. It doesn't matter about anything else. You put yourself out there every day, tell everybody what the business is, and that's what it is.
Oh, man. Pete does put his face out there, dude.
School everybody, grab your nuts, and say, fuck it.
I love it. Last time, speaking of putting your face out there, last time I saw Parker, it was in Minneapolis. I was there on tour, working for some band. Picks me up, we're driving around, we're eating, we're smoking weed. But first thing he does when he picks me up is we drive by a big-ass billboard in the middle of downtown with his face on it. Which I
had to show you that first.
My boy, but
showed you that first.
Oh, yeah, that was when he talking about putting your face out there, dude. He's like, his face was like, you know, 8 by 10.
Yeah, he's Billboard Pete out there.
Yeah, Billboard Pete. I like that.
All right, so, you know, for people that don't know, we're going to, like I said, like, if you're new, we're checking in, but this is what I do. We go back.
Yeah.
We get the backstory, and there's a lot of changes in Mr. Fraczek's life here. So, but I know Jake as a rapper first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to go back to the rapping days. I mean, we met in, actually, I want to go back even farther because there's things I forgot about. Where are you from originally?
Like, grew up in the West Indies, in the Caribbean, Nevis, and St. Kitts. Right. My father's from Springfield. My mother's from Boston. So
where part of Boston is she from?
Charlestown. But I grew up more in JP, Jamaica Plain. And then when we came to the States when I was younger, I bounced around to different parts of Massachusetts, eventually stopping in Boston, where that was probably where I've lived most of my life. One place is in Boston. But yeah, the West Indies first.
That's West Indies, what is a baby? You were born there?
So I was about to be born on the island of Montserrat. And back then, my father owned a nightclub, bar, and like a lot of big musicians. I like that you smiled at that. But a lot of famous musicians were coming down there. There was a big recording studio, so they would party, they would perform at the club, hang out at our house. Hospitals were not all that. So my mother's pregnant, and you know, the doctors would tell her that it might be a complicated birth, this and that. They fly back to Massachusetts, to Springfield. I'm born there, and we chill for like a month, and then as an infant, I fly back to Montserrat. And my father was bummed because he wanted me to run for president, which is ridiculous. But if you're not born in a country, you can't run for president. But if I was born down there, probably my mother and me, one of us would have died. So it was like, do you want a political son or do you want to have a fucking son and a wife? So he made a tough choice. I would have never made a good president. He's ridiculous for thinking that too, dude. It's fucking.
That's having big ideals.
Lofty ideals. I think he just wanted me to commute a sentence of his or pardon him if he got in trouble. That's all.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I think of your dad over in the nightclub. I think of Carlito's Way, where he's like, I owned him, I never ran him.
yeah, dude. Oh my God, dude. It's just you. I wish he had a good Kleinfeld. He didn't have a good Kleinfeld, I don't think. My father.
Business.
Yo, what up, Lord Touch? That's my guy.
Oh, Lord Touch in the building. There's a name I haven't seen in a while.
Leedz, I'm going to preface what I'm about to do to your viewers, listeners. I don't smoke cigarettes. Jake the Snake never smokes cigarettes. This is like CBD flower disguised as a cigarette, so you can smoke them in public and feel cool without actually getting cancer. Is it okay?
Oh, cool.
Is this kosher? Can I do this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get a contact high through the phone.
I got my friend's girlfriend a contact high the other day, dude. Her eyes were bloodshot. She called up and ordered CVS delivery for like giant bags of Twizzlers just from sitting next to me. Yeah,
I probably, if it was in Boston, I might have been the one delivering it to her. But I just lost my train of thought. So Fraczek, what do you Fraczek?
Fraczek, yeah, it's Polish. My grandparents, my father's parents are from Poland. My mother's Irish American. Yeah.
Peter Parker is Polish as well.
I know.
You guys are the
only ones, dude. We nerd out on that shit.
We need the Polish Power album. That's what we need.
Dude.
Ivan Putski.
Dude, I was about to say Ivan Putski, the Polish Power. Peds don't really. Peter and I should start a podcast called the Polish Power Hour.
Yeah. With the sled, he used to come out with the sledgehammer.
Dude, that's old school wrestling. See, that's like that.
That's really old.
I love that shit. Most people don't know that era of wrestling because that predates WWF and when we were little,
I only knew about it because you see the highlights and you see the books and all that stuff. I never really saw him wrestle that much.
Yeah, it was before our time.
So when did the love for hip hop come in from all this transitioning?
I'll say this. I said this on an interview I did the other days. I'm an artist first. My mother's parents, my Irish grandparents were painters and visual artists and writers. I've always been into art and expressing myself. First, initially, it was painting and drawing. Hip hop, just like my parents were into classic rock and rootsy reggae and soul music, and I was around the house all the time, and I love all that shit. But hip hop was some shit. When I saw it, it was like Slick Rick. I think it was the first dude I saw it. It just looked like the coolest shit. I was young. My mother would drop me off at like b-boy classes to be a b-boy. That looked cool. Learned quick. That was not in my natural skill set to be a b-boy, but I loved hip hop like real early. Like I'm like 9 years old, 8 years old, way before I would have thought about MCing. And then I took my artsy side, and graffiti looked pretty fun because not only is it like art, but I much enjoy the element of sneaking out, racking cans, breaking the law, running down the train track at midnight when you're 12. That was pretty cool. So I did that for a while. And then I got super into skateboarding, which was like another form of expression. And from like age 10 to 20, that was pretty much almost my most important thing in life. But I started like rhyming. Yeah, I was like a teenager, freestyling because friends' older brothers had turntables. And we'd drive in their car and add instrumentals on tape. And I was always writing like short stories and poems and just started like rapping. It just was fun, I like played a little guitar, wasn't very good at that. But then, hip hop was always in my life before rapping. And then because I could rhyme, it was my ability to do music. I wasn't a great singer. I couldn't play the drums, but that's how I kind of started. I was like, I can express myself now through music. I used to paint, draw, or skateboard. Now I can rap and then write for other people. And that was my form of expression at the time. It's all about the canvas I want to choose at the moment. And, hip hop has been in my life before I was rapping, and it'll be there at the end. But, MCing, especially as like a career and stuff, the passion came just from wanting to express myself, really.
Word. So I meet you in like 2000, I think 2 or 2001, I think.
Yeah, 2002 or 1.
We go into Northeastern.
Yeah, we're in class.
I transfer in, you're in there. studying communications or music business, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You're in a music business class with me.
Yeah. That's why I was taking classes for music shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had like my mixtapes, and you were like, you listen to hip hop, and I remember you saying like you were talking hip hop, and I remember the first thing I heard you say is you were talking about Common, like how Common was a big influence of you, but you just couldn't fuck with him anymore.
Yeah, it was at the time I think Electric Circus had dropped, and I was like 19. So I was probably a little like asshole, and I loved Common so much, and I just don't think I could understand the musicality of Electric Circus at the time. Looking back, it's a good album, and I respect and love Common, but at the time it was such a departure from his previous 3 albums, like from Resurrection to One Day It All Makes Sense to like Water for Chocolate. Can I Borrow a Dollar? Let's Keep It Funky. It's not the greatest debut album of anybody, but it was a big departure, so it was hard for me to swallow at the time.
Now, he kind of made the transition with like Water for Chocolate. He starts going into kind of
He does when he brings in Jay Dilla to production, but lyrically he was still writing really hard and he was still rapping aggressively. It was less experimental, I guess. No. But I see what you mean.
But yeah, because I remember thinking that was kind of agreed with you at the time. I mean, Electric Circus is cool, but it was very it was dating Badu, and when anybody dates Badu,
yeah,
there you go.
There you go. Also, you know what I was into at the time, I wasn't ready to have that plate. I wasn't ready to eat that dish. Years later, I mean, even when Mos Def's second album came out and he was doing some of the rap and rock infusion shit and bluesy stuff. Initially, I didn't sweat it, but it didn't take too long after that where I was ready to dine on those dishes. My palate was expanding, but when Common made that change, like I wanted some hard-hitting shit, and that was not it, you know?
Right. So it's funny, we meet in class, we kick it. I'm handing you my mixtapes, you're handing me your stuff. And you were actually in a group at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah. I had never even, ROTE. I had never.
ROTE.
I had never even really recorded a professional song. Yeah, it was like just doing stuff in a friend's bedroom, you know? It was fun, man. It was easy.
ROTE was the group. I used one of the songs on the mixtape. Which one was it? What the fuck are we supposed to do?
Yeah, we scratched the BDP sample.
What the fuck are we supposed to do? That was dope.
I mean, I love that BDP song originally, and I always wanted to use that as a vocal cut, you know? I thought it was a good, so yeah, I remember that. Good to remember, Leedz. Your memory is iron.
Yeah, it came back to me. Jake is the first Boston rapper I met when I moved to Boston.
Yeah.
So I moved to Boston. I had this class with Jake. I'm slanging weight. I get busted.
Oh. I didn't know this about you at the time either. That's the fun thing. I learned it later.
Well, I don't really tell everybody I'm slinging weight publicly when I first meet them.
Yeah.
But I get busted, and then I have to take a semester off. Well, Northeastern at the time was tri-semester, so I took 2 semesters off. I come back, and JDS has won the Super Bowl, the Metro Concept Super Bowl battle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck happened? What the heck? For people that don't know, the Metro Concept Super Bowl battle, which was
biggest
a battle
New England
held on the Super Bowl, that's why they called it that, was the biggest New England battle at the time. It was real MCs doing it. It wasn't just like
you had to audition. You couldn't just get in. You've had to win some small battles, and you had to audition for them too. They were selective, and it was people who were coming from California, New York, all over. It wasn't just New England cats.
Word. Shout out Prop Dylan. Shout out Sammy Gerber in the building. Shout out Yellow.
What up, Sammy?
What made you get into the battle circuit? I didn't see that coming.
I always wanted to be a storyteller in rapping, and that's what I eventually did. But this is back when battles were freestyle, like, you know, round robin, 16-person off the head. You don't know who you're battling. It's not like the shit you see now, where it's premeditated. But
over a beat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it wasn't a cappella. It was all over a beat. You didn't know what you were gonna rap over. I was just good off the head, freestyling at house parties. I would go to Chez Vu roller skating rink and go to like battles in Mattapan. I'd be in the Villa Victoria in the South End, the Jorge Hernandez Center. I'd be always doing that, and so I was like, man, maybe I can catch rap battling. Maybe I can get some attention, and it's probably good for my chops, you know. So I was just doing littler battles, smaller battles in Boston and Cambridge, and winning some, and. So I was like, I'm just going to use this as a stepping stone. And it's worked because after I won the Super Bowl battle, you know, you win some money, shit, and then people were starting to put me on show. I don't think even you weren't doing shows yet. And people were putting me on shows. And then some dudes from Jersey wanted to put out put out music of mine, be like, hey, let's like do an album. And I hadn't even really recorded. The shit that you'd heard was like fun little demo stuff you kind of do in your boys' room. And these guys were like, nah, we got a studio. We know what we're doing. The guys were going to Berkeley. They had money. So it got me to where I wanted to go. And then I kind of, I don't say abandoned it, but battling was never my passion. It was just a stepping stone.
Right, because I remember I come back and then I get back into the scene, beat the case.
Yeah, there you go.
Beat the case, come back, and I'm ready to do shows because I'm working for Metro Concepts. They're on their way out of doing shows. They didn't really ever really want to do it.
I forgot that you were working for them, and that's how that started. Oh, shit.
Yeah. And then the next battle comes around, and it's bigger than ever. They do it at Avalon, and for people that don't know, Avalon is what was the original House of Blues, but it was smaller.
Yeah.
And Jake is saying, "Yeah, I don't really know if I want to do it this year."
I did.
He's like, I don't know if I want to do it. It's bigger than ever, hosted by KRS-One, and Jake's like, nah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should do it. And I'm like, you won it last year, bro. Like,
I just didn't want to get branded as a battle rapper because that was definitely not what I was doing. And, at that time, that was a big stigma. Like, oh, this guy can battle. Like, dudes like Juice or whoever, but they can't make songs and albums. And that was a scary thing. I did not want to get stuck in that box,
Well, I mean, the truth is that they, if you can make a song, you can make a song. If you can battle, you can battle. I mean, the proof is in the work.
Yeah.
But I get it. And you did it. You didn't win that year. But
no, I made it to like the semi I made it 2 rounds in.
I was there rooting for you.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then that ends, and I'm like, I'm ready to do shows, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna. I couldn't get in the Middle East at the time, and then I was like, I could do shows at All Asia, and Jake tells me, no, I don't do shows at All Asia. We've talked about this on yours, but we're gonna talk about this on mine as well.
That's all right.
Jake was a local hip hop snob at the time.
Yeah. I still am. I was a little prima donna-ish, I think. I was trying to set up standards for myself,
Yeah, in hip hop, great, good job, good luck with that.
You got it. I mean, I don't know why. I had
in your defense,
with All Asia though. I got
in your defense. You go. I'll go. You go. You go first. I'll go. It doesn't matter.
No, I had some bad friends who did some damage at All Asia, and the people who ran the place weren't particularly happy with me. Graffiti writers are bad friends, dude. They're gonna get you in trouble.
Yeah, and let's be honest, All Asia's sound system was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Yeah. But that was the only spot I could get in, and you were one of the few local rappers I knew. But eventually I end up getting in the Middle East, throwing the Royce da 5'9", Cunnilinguist show, Tone Deaf.
Yeah.
Juice, we just talked about battle rapping. Juice
that's right. Juice was on that shit.
And you were the only local rapper on that show, and that was my first show in 2004.
I remember.
In the Middle East.
I still have the flyer over there, and like a little what do they call it? A scrapbook of sorts.
Oh, nice, cool, yeah, that was a great show.
That was great. I think I was wearing a big black Champion hoodie. It was first time on like a big. That's not true. The first time, but it was like hot, moving around rapping in that big hoodie. I was like, this shit is hot, dude. I'm going t-shirts.
You had Wiz. He's your hype man.
Yep. I remember that. Man.
And from there, we did a couple other shows. We did right off the rip. We did Brand Nubian, Brother Ali.
There's a few Wu-Tang dudes like a deck.
We did.
Deck.
So we did the Inspector Deck, Master Killa, Master Killa, No Said Date release party with Inspector Deck. You, Amadeus, and Slain.
Yeah.
That show was off. That was my first really show that made money, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And that was a great show.
Yeah, and that's when you got bit by the bug. You were like, yo, I'm about to take this shit over, huh?
Well, I wasn't taking over. It was just like, wow, people actually will come out if you have the right acts. And that was great because those 3 local acts and then them and everybody fit the bill. Slain was just coming out at the time. Amadeus was just coming out at the time.
Yeah.
And you were, it was just a great night. Parker hosted. It was just packed. You know what I mean? It was why what's great about throwing shows.
Yeah.
And from there, you kind of, you kicked it into 5th gear, 4th gear, I'd say.
Yeah.
And you went hard, and you put out, The Arrival, the Year of the Mixtape, the Year of the Snake, which I did, me and Parker did.
That was dope. That was fun.
What other albums came after that?
Then they did the Strategy, The Crown was like my bigger one. I had that Razzcast track. I did Devin the Dude record that got a lot of #1 college radio singles. That where I started getting like a little more buzz or press or what have you outside of Boston. And that really helped kind of jump up a level or two for me,
Yeah.
Just like I was getting like a lot of support from local radio too, which really helped. So like my name started ringing a little more locally.
Yeah, 88.9 at the time was very supportive of that Devin the Dude record. Because me
Yeah.
and you were like in Boston, we're like, yo, we love Devin the
Only
Dude.
Devin the Dude guys, yeah.
But not many people were Devin the Dude fans.
That was one thing we really got. I mean, there was a lot of things we had in common, but we both had this real large. We loved Devin the Dude. He still is one of the illest, and like there was like 2 people I'd ever met that liked him, and you were one of them, you know. But that's how that song came apart, is because we did a show with him. And then just worked from there. Then I did a few more shows with him. We did a record. It was great, man.
We did 2 Devin the Dude shows. We did one, and I think the second one was his release party, and we tied your release party. I don't know if it was Strategy. Was it Strategy of the Crown release, or was it a different album?
No, I think it might have been something after that, like a mixtape I did after that. I can't recall. But
it was one of your albums. We did him, your album release, and Devin the Dude's at Great Scott. Sold out.
Yeah.
Sold out. I posted that pic recently of me photobombing.
Oh yeah, that's a great pic. That was right?
Van Styles is interviewing Devin the Dude outside that show.
Oh, that was outside the show. I thought that was
because I could see the old Pizzeria Uno, and
that was
Great Scott.
That was I remember sold a lot of merch there. That was a good show that night. Yeah, that was a good time.
And then the funny thing about that night is, like, I had been doing shows at Great Scott's, like, on Wednesday nights. Like, all they would give me is, like, one Wednesday a month. And I was doing a good job. And that was one of them. Sold out. And the manager at the time, like, he would, like, come in on his days off and drink at the bar. So his Wednesdays was his night off. So he comes in, gets drunk, sees the place packed with hip-hoppers. They throw somebody out for smoking weed. I think it was Greedy Irish. I don't know if you remember that dude.
Yeah, I remember the kid.
They throw him out, and he comes up to me shit-faced, being like, we're never doing shows again. We don't want you here, and all this stuff. In the middle of the show, Devin the Dude is on stage, and the manager is screaming at me how he doesn't want me. The place is packed. It's not even a rough crowd. It's just to kick somebody out for smoking weed. It's to kick somebody out for smoking weed. Like, that's never happened at a venue.
Yeah,
and he just stuck it to me, and I couldn't believe it, man. I told that guy right in his face, I was like, "You're so friggin' unprofessional. You come to me drunk in the middle of the show, and you say this shit to me."
Yeah, man. I mean, you've probably had to deal
with
the
type of bullshit you deal with clubs sometimes, man.
I mean, dude, yeah. There's your profession, like dealing with all those club owners, man. I don't know how you do it. You got patience of a school teacher, man, because that shit would drive me nuts.
Well, back then too, like those little independent clubs, you know, it wasn't corporate, so you can get away with being drunk at the fucking working at the club. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, nowadays Boston's more corporate, so you can't get away with that shit. But back then it was like
Wild West days, the Wild West days.
I mean, there's no offense. There's people getting drunk working at corporate places, but you know, if you get caught, you're not like if it's out in the open, you're like you can get fired.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was a great great show. I remember.
Yeah, that was a good time.
And then you formed the super group, Greater Good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, dude. A bunch of dangerous MCs.
Yeah.
You know.
Talk about that. It was like the X-Men, you know, like you have these different dudes in the X-Men and chicks in the X-Men, all with different powers. And, you know, we all had different strengths as MCs. The good thing was a lot of us were friends from either different groups or whatever. So I don't even know, like, I mean, we were all hanging out. That's the thing. We were all friends.
Let's name the members first.
Okay, so it was me, my man Prone 2. There was 2 incarnations of it too. The original Greater Good was me, Prone 2, my man Specs, Amadeus, Benny Blanco, and Wiz. And Wiz was an older cat that I met through Prone and some of my other friends. And I knew of Wiz before I had met him. He kind of had this like legendary folklore to him, just like the sickest MC. And we would meet at house parties and freestyle, and he showed me love. And I was just like, gassed. This dude is like most deaf, but he's from JP. He's like a guy I know. And then I had met Specs through Benny. They went to school together. They went to high school together. And from there, I met Amadeus, who grew up in the same development as Specs in Tent City in the South End. And then, so we all just kind of like, we're hanging out. We met each other. We'd freestyle and smoke and chill. And then we were just like, we would do songs with each other. We're like, yo, we should just like form a fucking group. And then we were like high, trying to come up with various names. A great runner-up for the greater good I thought was, we were jokingly going to be like the Nor'easter because they're all from Boston. But we thankfully settled on the greater good. And it was, we all had different strengths, you know, and different styles, but it didn't seem like a hodgepodge when you put them together. It wasn't like out of whack to be in one group. It actually worked. And then later on, you know, down the line, our boy Touch would come out of jail. He had grown up with Specs and Arms, and we were already friends anyway. And he was like nice, but he got even nicer when he came out. So he fit into it good. And then later, my man Karas also would join it. And yeah, it was like a super group, which was beautiful because we made great music and there was such an energy to it. But, you know, it's also difficult because there was, you know, we all have big, I won't say egos, but we are strong in our beliefs about what we wanted to do. So compromising and shit like that was always a task, but the end product was dope. Like when we got off stage and got out of the booth, it felt so good, you know?
Let's talk about Benny B, because Benny B was...
What up, Benny?
Benny
you know,
B
me and Benny have the same birthday, March 22nd. He's a year older than me, but we have the same birthday, March 22nd, Aries. It's crazy.
Benny B, for people who don't know, Benny Blanco, Benny B was this white dude with red hair and a red beard.
Yeah, the
Viking.
Viking.
Who I first met throwing a Northeastern battle. He'd battle somebody on stage, and when the other guy he would just go into full karate,
like Tai Chi.
meditation, Tai Chi moves while the guy was battling him. He didn't win first round.
Yeah.
And then when I later found out that this guy was in the greater good, I was like, what's up with this guy? Because it was just so weird. And Jake goes to me, yo, when I listen to Benny B, I think I'm not that nice.
Yeah.
On the mic. That's how confident you were in the Benny B. And when I heard it, when I heard his music, when he could sing and harmonize and do all this crazy shit, he was really good.
That was really something good. Like in the greater good is that we all kept each other's swords sharp. Like everybody was very, I don't know, just on their toes at all times. Like, you know, you would do a verse and then come out and then hear somebody else's and like, no, I want to do mine again or something, you know? But it was good. It kept us all like just pushing each other, healthy, you know, not a competition in any other way, but just healthy. And it just makes for better MCing, you know? Yeah.
And the greater good, your greater good live set was really good because you had all those MCs with great energy, and then Benny doing the Tai Chi on stage.
Yeah, the background. Yeah, it was weird. You'd have like some dude with like a neck tattoo and a crazy eye hanging from the rafters, and you'd have this red bearded dude doing Tai Chi, and you know the different balance of the energies, and it made like I hate watching one MC with like 40 dudes on stage. It's so visually unappealing, and it distracts from if this guy's even a good performer. But when you have a crew that's on stage and all of them actually have a job to do up there, actually all of them are rhyming or singing or whatever, it's like a band playing instruments. So you got 6 of us on stage all serving a purpose. Rare to find 6 mics at a venue. Usually we'd get 4 and you alternate, but we practice and rehearse, so we knew who was passing what mic off to who. And I loved our greater good shows on stage. The energy was very palpable. It's more than just being up there alone doing it, you know, which is fun too, but the group.
And you guys also formed an alliance with Audible Mainframe, headed by frontman MC Exposition, rest in peace.
Yeah.
You guys as a team was a very stronghold in the Boston scene at that time.
Yeah.
Very top tier acts.
Yeah. Expo, Solo, and with Audible, they had the same, at the time, they had the same manager as me, and he was also managing Prone and Specs Marksmanship. So we would end up, you know, doing shows a lot. And even when I was doing solo shit, Audible Mainframe moved to West Coast. I'd come out, we'd do LA, Vegas, San Diego shows, and I would open, and the band would back me or just a DJ. But we got to share a lot of stages together and shit. That's my man, Rip Vic, Rip Expo. But it was nice to play in Audible greater good shows because me solo, and then you got a whole band of these guys. It's a tricky balance, but you got greater good. You got 6 MCs and a whole band. Then it's almost like 2 bands playing back to back, you know?
Yeah, then that was a shame that, you know, Expo died so young.
Yeah, it was quick too, man. I was at his house like 3 days before he died. And it was heavy because a doctor had told his brother and his cousin that they thought he had like a few months. And then it's like 3 to 4 days later, I'm gonna fucking wake. You know, it was a bummer.
It was stomach cancer, right?
Yeah, and it spread. Stomach cancer is a pretty aggressive one. It spreads quick, especially if they don't find it soon. Like all cancers, and it spread up, I think, into his upper, like his lungs, maybe, or what have you. And yeah, I mean, It's gonna. That's one of the worst ones you're gonna get. Stomach cancer.
Yeah, it was so fast. You're right. It was so fast, and such a shame because he had so much talent. Expo was just so freaking talented as a live performer.
Yeah,
especially as a live performer.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
It's just I look back. It's just such I just there's one of those things I just don't understand.
I always had, I guess you could say, an issue with live hip hop bands because I always felt the MC, whoever the front man was, always overshadowed and swallowed up by the band, unless you were Black Thought. Except Expo, he stood out. He didn't get overpowered. And there was tons of dudes doing that live hip hop band shit at the time. I mean, I can't even remember all the names, but you've seen them. And the musicality might be good, but as an MC, I just would never pay attention to the MC on stage. I would just turn away. It might as well have been instrumentation. But Vic never got overshadowed by the band. His presence was there. And I think that was very rare for live hip hop bands outside of the Roots.
Yeah, because the Roots phrenology came out, and then everybody got a band.
Yeah,
That's what happened.
Yeah, exactly. They do that song with Cody Chestnut or Corey Chestnut or whatever the fuck, and then everybody's got a band trying to get the white girl fans that like Dave Matthews.
Yeah, well, the thing is with playing the band is you can play other shows. That was the one plus of it. You can play like an all band show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then back then, the stigma with hip hop was
of course
a lot icier than it is now.
Especially in Boston, they weren't trying to. You know how the struggle.
So people are like, "Oh, I got a band."
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, exactly. It was like a Trojan horse for hip hop,
But but Expo, and the other thing with Expo is Parker's got a great story where Expo just joined a battle, like a battle at Who's on First that they had needed an extra person for, and Expo came in and smoked everybody as a battle.
He loves
I don't think he
battle.
even realized how good he was as a battle MC.
He loved, like, we would always freestyle, all of us together, but he loved that. We'd be at house parties. He loved the freestyle battle shit. I'd seen him in a few battles before. He was very much into that. He was into poetry, but he was into battling.
He ripped everybody. Parker says he's done many battles, and he says he's never seen anybody rip everybody apart like Expo.
Hell yeah.
So that was one thing I didn't know about him, that he had that ability. That's how talented he was, man.
Yeah,
and that's why it's such a shame to me.
Yeah,
rest in peace, and shout out Danny and his family.
Yeah,
and all them holding it down.
Definitely.
But moving forward, you go solo, and you go really hard. I mean, you're fucking hustling in this music scene hard. Like I hustle hard. A lot of other people hustle, but you're up there. Like you're working very hard. You're going above and beyond for your career.
I was going hard. Yeah, I mean, I moved to New York because I felt like I needed to get my reach further. I didn't have somebody out of Boston representing me. So I moved to New York with plans to find maybe different management, better reaches to shit. And, you're talking about the birthplace of hip hop, the central hub of the music industry in general. And I did. I got a new management. I started popping up. This is when blogs started becoming a thing. And I started popping up on all these major blogs, and I'm getting college radio promo, and now I'm playing shows outside of New England and New York City and Philly and LA and Atlanta, Texas. I'm playing all the festivals, and I was just like working my ass off, dude. Just like I'd go out to so many events, like you gotta go network, and like this is the shit I hate. I hate it, but going and shaking hands and being nice because maybe this guy's gonna put you on his blog or his website, or you get a verse from this person, or that guy's blah blah blah's manager. He works as an A&R. You never know. So I'm shaking the hands, kissing the babies when I'm not in the studio or not playing a show. Or I'd go to other dudes' shows. I was just working all the time on music shit, whether it was the music or the business side. Even though I had management and shit like that, I still wouldn't just kick my feet up and just write, record. Although that's what I wanted to do, I felt like I had to pick up any slack that the business end wasn't being handled to the fullest. Not to say that I'm not speaking ill of anybody, but if you have a child, you can have your babysitter watch the kid, but the babysitter ain't going to nurture that kid the same way the parent is. So I got my babysitter, but I'm still going and playing with my kid,
Well, I mean, I think that's why you were so successful, is because you were such a self-starter.
I think the word is helicopter parent. I was a helicopter parent.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and we're also talking about pre-social media.
Yeah.
Where these things that you're talking about, you have to do.
Yeah.
Now, the people that are successful now don't necessarily have to do this as much. They still got to do some of it, but they don't, you can press a button and promote yourself pretty easily these days. You're from an era, I'm from an era, our whole era had to be out hustling, doing shows, being seen, otherwise no one's seeing you at all. because there's no social media.
No, it's true. 100%.
And MySpace is just starting, but it's not really music-based.
No, it's not.
Facebook is coming in. It's not really music-based yet. There's no Instagram. There's no streaming. We have to give away our music for free. We have to press up CDs and hand them out to people for them to listen to it. Oh. This is very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
and costly.
There was a period like, you know, when social media did start coming out, obviously, if you're smart, you acclimate, you adapt, and you start using it for your benefit. So I did. But then I would see these kids, like, I had to come up rhyming the old-fashioned way. See, now when I write books in my shit now, I'm at the confines of my desk and I can be safe and drinking wine and writing. But when I was trying to come up MCing, even before I was on, I was going, I mean, dude, I had guns get pulled on me in like house party battles or like fucking roller skating rinks, like physically fighting over rap, literally fighting to rap. And then you see these, and you're making progress and you're selling CDs and playing shows, but then you see these kids put out a video on YouTube, and you know, this is years ago when I'm still in the music industry, and you see them getting love, and they didn't have to go out and do that. It definitely burns in you a little resentment, which I don't care about now. Now, like, that's stupid, but at the time it was frustrating to see that, because it's like, you didn't have to pay the dues in the manner in which I did. You didn't have to swim through those same channels. And you look at it like that's an easier path to get to where you want. And it's almost impossible to not have a little resentment at that. But, you know, you get mature and you don't care now, and you look at it like that was just the time they were coming up in. They were good for them. They didn't have to work not say as hard, but there was a different avenue they could take. And so, like, I don't hold any resentment or bitterness now. But at the time, you'd be like, yo, what, this fucking little kid? He could never have gone and wrapped up on this place. I had to do that, you know? Like, when I won the Super Bowl battle, dudes was trying to stick me for the winnings when I was getting out of there. I have some very good friends, so nothing happens to me. But, you know, that shit, now kids don't have to deal with that. And I used to be bitter about it, but it's like, nah, maybe it's better. It's a little safer, and you can get into the music side of it without actually having to experience other things.
Right. It was a lot difficult, and it speaks to a certain type of personality that becomes a successful rapper in our generation.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, you can be more introverted.
Yeah.
You don't have to be so alpha.
Yeah.
You have to be alpha.
It had to be. Had to be. I wanted to be introverted, though. That sounds more fun, dude. The confines of your house, it's all safe.
As an artist, you want to be introverted. This is the tricky part of it, because as an artist, you want to be like introverted and make your art and and you don't want to deal with all the bullshit.
Yeah.
But no one's gonna hear you.
It's true. It's a fucking double-edged sword.
You have to. That's why the successful rappers of our times were not introverted.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you know, Kendrick Lamar is introverted.
Yeah, Jay-Z was not introverted. He was a businessman. He was savvy. He was out there. Yeah.
Had to be a hustler.
Had to be a hustler.
Yeah. So you go hard, and then you stop.
Yeah.
Well, why?
I love.
So this is what I want to know.
Yeah.
You were working so hard on your craft in your career, like harder than most people that I had met. You know. You hit a ceiling in Boston. I get it. You go to New York. You didn't hit a ceiling in New York, but you're growing, and you stop.
Yeah, at my height, at my apex, I had Hot 97 in New York was dropping bombs on my records, like fucking Hot 97 in Boston, Rhode Island. Like, I was at my apex. You know, I had 2 major labels dangling some offers, and you know, I was feeling good. And I think sometimes you see the carrot that's in front of your face, and you want it. And then I started, like, I wouldn't say second guessing myself, but I wasn't listening to myself. And I don't blame other people completely, but you got people in your ear that work for you on the business side, maybe saying, listen, the next step, if you want this, you got to make record like this. You got to do that. And I wanted things, and then I saw myself making music I didn't like, making choices I didn't 100% like. But at the moment, I couldn't see the forest from the trees. I was in it. And then when I don't know when or what point it was where I got a little perspective, and I was like, yo, I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like myself for making these choices. Yeah, these guys might be influencing me, but at the end of the day, I'm saying yes to go along with it, or I'm making the choice. And I was like disappointed in myself artistically. And, you know, I love music. I love creative people. I didn't really like the industry. I didn't like anybody but somebody who was creative. It was souring my passion. All those baby kissing, handshaking, politicking, I was starting to get burnt out. I was like, yo, these people are fake as fuck. These are all pariahs. I'm starting to look at everyone like a leech. And then I'm looking at myself like, what are you doing, dude? You've strayed from your path to be part of these fucking bloodsuckers. And I just had like this weird moment. Like, I don't know what you'd call it. And I was like, dude, fuck this. And it wasn't like, I wasn't like on the decline. I was like, I should have made another move. Who knows where I would have gone, but it didn't feel right in my heart. I was disappointed with choices I'd made. I didn't like where I was going. And I wasn't really liking a lot of music coming out. And I think that was a problem. I felt like conflicted, like to compete with this, do I have to kind of become like this? And I was like, nah, fuck this. And I stopped at my highest point. I started my band, Blue Gold, which was dope. And I wanted to spread my wings creatively. And that's why I did that. So I could kind of step outside the realm of pure hip hop and be free from a little bit of criticism for being creative, which wasn't embraced even that at the time like it is now. And it was a way for me to kind of, in my mind, make up for the choices I didn't like that I made musically. I got so soured out, so burned. Like, I love, hip hop is always in me. That was in me before I was doing it. But the rap industry, music industry, fucking hated it so much at the time that I was like, peace, you know? That's what happened, really.
How's that feel, quitting?
It hurt. Well, it's like, this is like what I said before. I didn't know at the time, but I realized I was an artist before I was an MC. Some people, rap is all they got, and that's great. I'm always expressing myself, skateboarding, surfing, writing, drawing, painting, broadcasting. It took me a little while to regain my footing, but it wasn't quitting to me because the game, I didn't want to play that game. That game for me, and even now, if to keep it funky and keep it 1 billion, 1 billion with you Leeds, the game is still full of pariahs and vampires. And I got friends who are blossoming in it, and I'm happy for them. I wouldn't want to be in that position. I know what it takes to get to those levels, and the levels they're going to, it takes even more. I don't want to walk those paths. I don't want to have to sacrifice part of me. And very few artists don't have to sacrifice part of themselves. Very few are very lucky. And a lot that are doing it, they will portray like they're not, but I know how the sausage is made. So I know that they're swallowing their pride a little bit here and there, and I was over that. The carrot that was dangling in front of my face wasn't worth it to me. So I'm happy that I made my choices because now I still do art. I'm still expressing myself. And it's the most natural form for me, writing and doing books and telling stories. And I don't got to sacrifice one part of my soul, and it feels better.
But why not just make the music you like?
I know. And I could have. But at the time, it hurt. I was like scorned. It was like a bad breakup. And even for a few years, it was hard for me to even appreciate a lot of contemporary hip hop because it reminded me, it's like, fuck, man, why didn't you circle back? But I just was so soured out on the industry hustle side of it. I just didn't want to. I could have just made music and been introverted, but I got burned out, man. Just straight up, I got so burned out on the industry side of it.
You needed a break.
Yeah, I did. I needed to step away from it because it was killing my passion. The hustle about it was killing my passion so much that, like, if you love something, imagine you don't want to do it right now. That's a fucked up thing. Like, if you love a woman you're with for years and something happens where you just don't love her the same, you do, but you're not in love with her, you know? And I'm in love with hip hop, don't get it twisted. But the act of rapping to get paid $500 a show or $500 verse and sell t-shirts and shake hands and kiss ass a little. And anyone who says they ain't kissing ass, most of them are fucking lying because I've seen it with my own eyes. Just hate to burst the bubble. But I couldn't do it no more. I couldn't do it no more. It was, call me keeping it real going wrong or whatever, but it just didn't feel right inside, you know?
Hey, I mean, we gotta take breaks, you know what I mean? Like,
No problem.
things, you know, I'm not the type of guy that says close the door. I leave the door cracked.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I agree. I never shut it completely off.
I know I don't close the door on the past.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I've learned not to close the door on the past. I didn't always use it.
No, you should
I've
never.
slammed the door shut many times in my life, but nowadays I just kind of leave it cracked open.
I like to leave the past right there. I like it to always hit me in the face. I mean, my first 2 books I wrote, a lot of it is addressing shit in the past, you know, like drinking ayahuasca on the floor in Puerto Rico and so many other places, and just seeing your past even before music hitting you, beating you in the face. Like, I don't run from nothing. In fact, I run towards that shit. I confront it. So I like to leave that open. Like, I'm not bitter. I don't resent anything now. I'm happy with the choices I made, even stopping my music career. I would go on to work in music and other facets, touring the world, working for bands and artists. But
yeah, I want to talk about that real quick. So
It's a funny. I know it's fun.
You go work for you. What do you become a tour manager for Slayer?
Nah,
what were you?
I was a VIP coordinator and security coordinator for live.
So you were running the VIPs for Slayer.
Yeah, I like press, taking care of the press, family, people that want to come, the people that go in between the moat and the barricade of the stage and shoot the photos, supervising them, getting them in and out, meeting with security at the venues, showing what passes are what means, who can go where, you know. It fell in my lap, man. I had a friend working for this company based out of LA.
Is that E-Skills?
What's up?
E-Skills?
No, nah. I mean, that's my man. Shout out to E, and he was doing touring. It was another friend of mine, my boy B. Random, like the owner of this company was an older guy, originally from Brookline. He meets me. I'm not even looking for a job. He just thinks I'm cool. And he's like, yo, do you want to do this? It's like, I've never done that in my life. He's like, yeah, you'll learn on your feet. And he doesn't throw me out in like little shows. He throws me first out with Slayer, which is like a Grammy-winning legendary band. And from working with them, I got to work with like, you know, EDM, hip-hop, classic rock, fucking metal, all these different artists. And I get to tour the world doing big arenas. And
how was that like? Did you like it?
I fucking loved it, dude. I loved it. It played to my strengths and my skills. I didn't have to change anything about the way I dressed, or talked, or acted. I didn't have someone breathing down my neck. Like my boss is back in Beverly Hills in a suite. I'm on the road. Granted, the tour manager is kind of, and the band is like your boss, or the artist is kind of your boss.
Yeah.
But I don't have anyone breathing down my neck, micromanage me. It's a long day, but I'm traveling the world and also different cities where I have countries, I have family and friends. I get to see people. I don't know. It's a huge rush. You're still working in music, but not the bullshit side of it. You're getting paid to travel, dude. It's some fucking shit. I'm getting paid well, too. I loved it. It was so much fun.
So you a Slayer fan now?
Because of skateboarding, I grew up listening to their shit in skate videos, so I liked it. And I liked Slayer, Maiden, and Sabbath from skate videos. So to work for them was cool. And then, you know, and they're cool as fuck. Good dudes, man. Smoke weed with the lead singer, Tom, every day. You know, drink with Kerry King after work. So, yeah, good dudes.
Word. Talk to me about the books. You wrote 2 books. Let me get that in. Quicksand and Waiting Room.
Yep.
Correct?
Yeah.
So you're obviously still writing.
You're
writing
all the time.
Raps, you're writing books. What are these books about?
The books that came about, like I said, man, I was always writing poetry and short stories before I was rapping. The first book came about, I was in a dark place. I was going through a bunch of shit, and I was writing as therapy. And I started seeing an underlying theme in the first books. It was like a love triangle breakup. And there's like debauchery and tales of like fucking wild adventures and shit. But there was an underlying theme I started noticing in the little pieces I was writing. It was like a second chance, a redemption, and trying to get back with this woman. And kind of coming clean with some of the lifestyle I'd lived. I just stopped living for years. I was living on the other side of the tracks, other side of the law. I was doing music shit. I finally had a moment where my conscience caught up with me, and I saw some things I'd done to people, and I was like, yo, what the fuck? And just how I was living and how it was compounding on my conscience and in my heart and how heavy it felt. And all these big changes occurred, and I was writing, and I saw the connections, and I was like, yo, I kind of have a book here. Why don't I just fucking connect it together? So the rest of the chapters I was writing for Quicksand, I started writing with the goal of connecting it all together, got a publisher, put the first book out. And it was a way for me to express myself, a way that I always felt real comfortable. Writing always came easy. And I wanted to write the way I talk and stuff. I wasn't going to change my style up and write like fucking Hemingway or William S. Burroughs or somebody. It was going to be my voice. And then The Waiting Room is a similar style. It's nonlinear short stories. It's like if you watch, you know, you and I are fans of quality film, good cinema, if you will. You know, I love movies that cut back and forth with time. The linear Hollywood structure is cool, but I like the storytelling where it's not really about the beginning and the end as much. It's a cool story. You can throw that movie on in the middle and, oh, I love this scene. I'm going to watch it. So that's how I wrote my books. It all ties together as you read on. Second book, instead of redemption or a second chance at getting back a woman I loved in this love breakup triangle, it was still debauchery and drugs and alcohol and sex and wild tales, but it was a second chance at connecting with my father who was dying at the time. So that was that, and that came up out of nowhere. I didn't have plans for the second book. He gets sick, I'm with him, and then I start writing just to deal with the situation at hand, processing it, and then boom, we got a second book, found a new, better publisher. Book comes out month and a week ago.
So the waiting room is out now.
Yeah, it just came out on middle of April. So yeah, you can go get it. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, ebook, Walmart, select stores.
Did your father pass away in real life?
Yeah, he's dead. He died in my arms. No, it's all right.
I'm sorry, I couldn't remember.
No, so I shouldn't have laughed. That was kind of weird that I laughed, but that's what the whole book is about. Well, I mean, but that goes in line with all of the shit I do, because my shit is dark humor. I'm like, even the first book, there's some fucked up stories and sad shit. You're either gonna laugh at it or laugh with it. But he did. He passed away. And the book was like, I kind of finished the book a little bit after he died, then started the editing process. Yeah. But I knew he was going to die. Yeah.
That's a great title, The Waiting Room. I was almost going to name my album that.
Oh, really? Smart, man. Like mine. Yeah. I spent a lot of time in waiting rooms during the process, so it hit me. I was like, yo, this is the great equalizer. Rich, poor, black, white, young, old. You stay in this waiting room. You know what I'm saying? And it's like this fucking strange limbo when you're waiting to find out what's going on, you know?
I feel like right now in my career, I'm in a waiting room. You know what I mean?
But you know,
that's what I was gonna name it.
It's a good place to be sometimes if you use it as a place to reflect and think, you know, which I'm sure you do. You're a smart cat.
I do. I just, you just got to learn to be patient. That's the ultimate tool.
That's a tough one. What a virtue, man. It's hard. Patience is not my strong suit. I've learned to get better with it over time. It's hard.
Well, I just got to know it's not about my timing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not about what I want, my timing, because that's not necessarily what's best for me.
Yeah.
What I want. You know?
Shit that's out of your control, dude. It took me a long time to learn that, too, that you're in the stress about the things you might be able to affect. But the shit that's out of your control, you're just getting gray hair for nothing, dude. And I got a whole bunch of gray hairs stressing over shit that I couldn't do nothing about, you know?
Feel that. Talk about the podcast, Damaged Goods Podcast.
Yeah.
I think you do a great job.
Thank you.
You do a great job. You have a very mix of guests. It's not hip hop. Talk to me about what it is.
It's I wanted to have all artists on, not just hip hop dudes, musicians, directors, dancers, writers. You manage a musician. You run a live venue. You're like an artist, you're a painter, or whatever. Because I got friends in all these realms. I got heavy metal friends. I got hip hop friends. I got graffiti writer friends, skateboarding friends. I just had a chef on, this Haitian chef yesterday, because I think of cooking as an art form. You know, I don't got baseball players on. There's no hunters. There's no political analysts. Nothing wrong with them. But I wanted to have convos with people in the arts and not like, doing all the music shit, man. How many times I'm on FM radio? And it's like, when'd you get into hip hop? Like, who's the first artist you listened to? And I just like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I answered those questions so many times. I was like, yo, I'm never going to ask anybody this question. So I wanted to have a conversation with somebody. We get to tell stories. That's my whole thing. And through the storytelling, a listener would find out what the art form this person does is like, what their life is like. And then maybe we touch on some things that have been tough in their life or in their career that might have left them a little damaged. That's why my logo is like a prescription pill bottle, Damaged goods. Yeah.
It's a great podcast. You do a great job. And like I said, it's definitely, it's unorthodox the way you do it. It's not set up like, you just kind of, you keep it random and stuff. We had a great interview on there.
Oh, it was a blast.
It started and stopped randomly. It was,
I like to keep
we're talking and then all of a sudden you were like, oh, we're recording. I'm like, all right, cool. And then you're like, we were talking and then you're like, oh, I stopped recording. Okay. All right.
I don't want to make the guests, I want them comfortable, but not too comfortable. I never tell them, they're like, what are we going to talk about? I was like, nothing. You just tell me what's off the table. I'll do the rest. I got ideas I want to talk about. I steer the ship, but I don't want it premeditated. I want to catch the natural energy. Like the combo we had, I loved it. It was fun because it was just like you and me talking and not too set up. And I really enjoyed it.
Right. It was a great time. The other thing I want to talk about is your meme game. Because your meme game is off the freaking hook.
Thank you.
I'm surprised you're not shut down by it.
Oh, I get. Dude, my book just came out. I got shadow banned that day for a post taken down from like a year ago. And like, I have no Instagram and Facebook presence still right now. And I'm trying to sell a book in 2022. I get flagged a lot and people report my shit. I'm surprised I haven't lost my page though.
Yeah, because it's some really dicey stuff, some really risque stuff you can post it, but it's so freaking funny. All of it's funny. I laugh at all of them, dude. Yeah, it's my goal of like putting the vitamin in the ice cream. Most of the time it's these funny memes, but every so often I'll post a picture and I'll write share a poem or a little piece I wrote, promote the book and the podcast.
but I use the humor to bring it in because it's the same humor that's in my writing and shit. So it's a way to kind of bring people in. I think if I just put book stuff, writing poems all the time, might not get all the fans. There are a lot of people that read my stuff that don't read. They're not all avid readers. So I'm appealing to various audiences, some of which don't have a library at home. So I use the humor as a way to reel people in, but it's also authentic. That's my sense of humor,
Yeah, I mean, memes are like the most popular things on the internet. Like you're gonna get the best reaction from memes if they're good. So it's a good way to get people.
Unless you're gonna play into whatever the cultural norm of the day is and like show your sympathies for whatever cause and be a movement slut just so you can fit in with the tribe. That's another way too. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's something a little wrong with it because I'm criticizing.
You didn't sell it. You didn't say it like there's something.
I mean, there's definitely for me there's something wrong with it. In the greater stratosphere, there's nothing wrong with it. But it's like, I mean, that's what's gonna get you attention. Or if you got like a real fat ass and some like beautiful face, you'll get some likes. I'm lacking in that department, so I got to rely on my humor to get you to look at my poetic writing.
Oh, it's fucking funny.
It's true. Am I wrong or am I right?
No, I mean, I'm laughing because there's an element of truth to it.
Yes. Yeah.
One thing I got to ask you is why don't you have all your music up on streaming? I mean, you're talking about 6 albums.
Some of it I don't have. Some of it I mean, some of it's not mine. Some of it I do have. I had it up there, and I feel like it was on like one of those what do they call that shit? Like TuneCore or something that distributes it to the various streaming sites. Yeah. And I think that it just expired. I should put it up there because I have people hitting me up a lot for it. I got to put some of the newer shit up there.
You got to put up everything you can there, man. I mean, you have like, can you put Strategy of the Crown up there?
That's one I can't put up.
Well, I would get the whole on the phone with
those. It was up there already. Whoever owns it had it up there, but it's not there. But I got a lot of other stuff in my catalog. All stuff post Strategy is mine, and I can have it up there.
Are you rapping? Well, is this going to be Jake the Snake or Jay the S? Because which one is it? Because it seems like it was Jay the S for a while, but now
yeah, I mean, Jake the Snake. Jay the S is just a derivative, but yeah, like branding wise, it would probably be Jay the S because a lot of those projects are Jay the S.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really Jake the Snake being the as highest the high profile wrestler.
Yeah, I still own the trademark though; it's still legally mine. Jake the Snake is.
I'm sure for like $10 you can get all the rights from Jake the Snake for it.
Yeah, no, I mean I didn't buy it from him though. His is Jake the Snake Roberts. So it was my lawyer Aaron Silverstein. He's quite ill with it, but I'd probably just put it up as Jay the S because all those projects that I do have ownership of are like.
I think you need all your music back up there as much as you can, because streaming, if you're not on streaming, it's forgotten. I hate to say it.
Yeah, and it's on YouTube still, and SoundCloud and YouTube. But I know it should be on Spotify.
People are on Spotify and Apple Music. Those
right next to a Joe Rogan podcast. Yeah.
You don't like Joe
I don't
Rogan?
get carried away. Just people, cancel their Spotify accounts and think that Che Guevara.
Is that why you did it? Is that why the JDS music isn't up there because of Joe Rogan?
No, not at all. I don't give a fuck, dude. I could give a fuck what some guy does or doesn't do on their podcast. It doesn't really affect me like that. I think people make mountains out of moles or molehills or whatever.
Just don't shake any hands with any fake people. Just don't shake hands with fake people. That's all.
Yeah. That shit sucks the soul right out of you, dude.
It's part of life, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I still have to deal with it. I mean, and I do it now to sell books, but I do it less. I'm more conscious of what I'm doing. And if I had this mindset when I was in the music game, I would be making different moves. But you're young, and you grow, and you get a little older, and you get a little more mature. Your perspective gets sharper. So if I could go back in time, but I don't regret any. That's not true. I do regret a few things, but I learned to live with those regrets, and it's all right. And the moves I make now, I take what I learned in the past and I apply it there. I'm much like the version of me now better than back then. You get more humble, your ego gets a little shattered, and you pick up the right pieces to put together, and you leave the shitty broken ones and dust them away and throw them in the garbage. So I like where I'm at now as a person and artistically, because I don't do anything that my heart's not into. And so when my head hits the pillow or I look in the mirror, I'm happy with it, regardless if it makes me more money or less money. I don't care. I sleep good at night, and I definitely made choices that that maybe would have brought me more success and money that I didn't like, and that shit burned for so long, and I don't have to feel like that anymore.
Sometimes that's the only way we learn, by making bad choices.
Gotta touch that kettle, dude, catch a couple blisters.
Word, Jake. This has been great, man.
Pleasure, Leeds. Thanks a lot, bro. Thank you, man.
I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to the Leeds Edutainment Podcast, brought to you
Thank
by
you.
Chubby Chick Restaurant, with very special guest, Jake Fraczek,
Yeah.
a.k.a. JDS, a.k.a. Jake the Steak. Thank you,
Yes.
brother.
Thank you, Leeds. Appreciate it, bro.
Talk soon.
Take care.